Welcome to episode 56 of What Happens Next, the podcast dedicated to thinking about and talking about the transitions we all go through, often in our 50s and 60s and beyond, when we're thinking about the next chapter of our lives. And in this interview, we interviewed Judith Quin. And Judith is a coach. She's a speaker on confidence and purpose. And we talk about all sorts of things like navigating transition in our life and why identity is such a difficult thing to navigate in our 50s, 60s and beyond. The importance of emotional health and mental well-being. The power of awareness, particularly self-awareness, on what we want out of life and how communication underpins often so much of what we do. So what I'm going to do is play the interview now because I know that there's loads of value in it. Welcome to What Happens Next, the LinkedIn Live, YouTube channel. I don't know where you're watching this, to be honest, so it depends. Dedicated to having more nuanced conversations about the transitions we make in our lives. My experience as a chartered financial planner is that, yes, the money question and the money conversation is important, but actually when we're thinking about a big transition in our lives, selling our business, looking at what's next after a career in a certain profession, we just need to have better conversations about some of the other issues. So what does purpose look like in this next stage of our lives? How do we maintain our physical well-being? And there's a great live we've got on nutrition coming up that I learned a lot from. How do we make sure that we maintain those really important social bonds? Just more nuanced, broad conversations to help you prepare for what's next in your life. Before we come on to Judith, and I'm really excited about this conversation today and the insights that Judith is going to share, a couple of things from me. The comments are live, so feel free to comment, ask questions, get involved in the conversation. You can do that on LinkedIn or I think YouTube. So please get involved. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Our mission with What Happens Next is to help you have a smoother journey to whatever's next in your life. And by liking the video and subscribing to the channel, we can just help more people. That's my plan. So thank you for doing that. But without further ado, let's speak to Judith. Judith, how are you today?
I am really good today. Thank you very much. And the thing with me is if I wasn't, I'd be honest and I'd tell you.
No, and that's really important, isn't it? I mean, I it's really interesting. I'm writing the What Happens Next book at the minute, and I'm up to the physical and mental health well-being element. I'm thinking a lot about how actually, if you look at generations gone by, the ability to have open and honest conversations about mental health is changing, isn't it? Which is a good thing, right?
Yes. And one of my key elements of mental health and trigger warnings. I have suffered from pretty bad mental health in the past myself. Beautiful bits of suicidal ideation. But the most important conversation, and I love that the conversation about mental health is happening more now. And for me, the deepest next step is when are people going to accept that, from my perspective, 80% of mental health is actually emotional health. And when we start talking about when people feel emotionally secure, even those with maybe what some people say, oh, but there's a chemical imbalance. It's like, well, when we're more emotionally secure, our chemicals change.
Yeah.
So, and even people maybe who have wiring that's not, that's not helpful. Again, in my experience with people who I know, there's someone in my world who has, thankfully acute, not chronic, but schizophrenia. I know that when they are emotionally secure, their mental health is fine. So I'm waiting for the day when people realize that actually what we need to talk about is emotional health, because that is 80% of our mental health.
And how would you define emotional health and the conversation around that, and the difference between emotional health and mental health?
Well, I think because there's not a difference, because our emotional health has a direct impact on our mental health. So I would describe it as when we feel emotionally secure,
Yeah.
our head is fine.
Yeah.
And then and that's why I say it's, I've not done the research, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I would say if 80%, I reckon, of our mental health is our emotional health.
Really interesting.
And that, like, when we start, but we don't, especially in this country, don't talk about emotions. Oh no, emotions, poppycock and nonsense. Right? So that actually, it's why there is a conversation. We hear it about, a happier workforce is a more productive workforce, and but it's getting under that and not being afraid of emotions. And the biggest challenge is that question, how are you? Because people very often don't want to hear the real answer. Especially not. There was a moment someone once asked me when I was in my not great space, and then, so how are you? And I'm slightly suicidal, actually, but that's nothing to do with you. So I was just like, I'm telling the truth.
Yeah.
I'm telling the truth.
There's a release to just being honest, though, isn't there? Do you know what?
And it probably wasn't the best way for me to communicate, but I wasn't, I was in my emotions.
Yeah.
I wasn't in my practice what you preach stuff. I was deeply in my emotions at that time.
Yeah.
And when your emotions are stable, when you feel secure, when you feel wanted, when you feel supported, appreciated,
Yeah.
the stress on the brain is so much less. So that is part of the communication. So if you're someone who doesn't want people to answer how are you with something challenging, and you're just simply wanting an I'm fine, then either don't ask or maybe so what's good in your world if you're looking for something good, or what's going on for you today. So
I suppose the interesting thing about that is, I wonder what we can do, what action we can take. And some of it might be external, but what action we can take to get to that point of emotional security. What do you think?
Well, especially I want to keep it in context of what happens next, because very often those points of transition are potentially emotionally tumultuous.
Yeah.
There's uncertainty, there's stress, there is questioning. Very often, sometimes the change might be happening because you want it to, and that's great. But even that can still be, okay, for example, I want to sell my business. I know I'm going to, but then who am I? We have an identity crisis. For some people, that what happens next is you're made redundant, or you've had a life event happen to you that suddenly means something has to change. And especially around work, our identity is so interlinked with what we do.
Yeah.
For most people, for some of us, a little bit more than others. I was, when what you do is also a vocation and your passion, it's very easy to get lost in that. And that was one of my big lessons to learn. My background is as a classically trained professional actor, and that's all I ever wanted to do. And so when I took a step away from that, unsurprisingly, it was as a result of my blip, as I now refer to it.
This is the interesting thing. This is a conversation that comes up on what happens next time and time again. I've seen it in my clients where they hold on to something that's not serving them in their life, a job that they're not enjoying anymore and they haven't done for some time, because the fear isn't the financial side, because hopefully we've had that conversation and been able to show them they're going to be okay. The fear often is, who am I if I'm not that?
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons why what happens next is this, because I think planning, preparing, thinking about some of those issues as long as possible before, not decades, but hopefully within sort of 5 years, and going, right, what am I going to do next? I think is an important thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Judith, this might be a record because we went off on a tangent before I got the opportunity to ask your first question, apart from how are you, which is brilliant. I love conversations that flow. But let's start with a little bit about who you are and tell me about the work you do.
Who am I? I am a spiritual, sound healing, crystal loving, barefoot on the earth connecting, meat eating, Formula One loving, heavy metal rock chick.
That's quite a combination.
Yeah.
I love that. Talk to me about the bit that's the most prominent element in your life at the minute.
That would be my work. So, and I'm much better at separating who I am from what I do. And that is why I now answer that question like that, because actually that is who I am. What I do is liberate voices to elevate lives.
Okay.
So helping people either, and lots of people go, if I say I'm a vocal confidence and communication specialist and vocal sound healer. And so some people will go, oh, you mean public speaking and presentations? I'm like, yes, that is part of what I do, helping people be more confident with that. And mostly it is working with people to speak about themselves positively with confidence.
Okay.
So that might be setting boundaries, which is something that's really important when you're in transition. That might be knowing actually who am I and what do I want, so that can be expressed with clarity, with confidence, with conviction, so that when you're expressing yourself, people hear it, believe it if they need to believe it, and also trust you with it. Because very often when we're not sure of what we want, there's an unconscious question mark at the end of a statement, and that might be vocally, it might be physically. So yeah, that is the what I do part.
And how talk to me about, because I'd imagine that despite somebody having a decent amount of confidence in their previous lives, when they're at the point of transition, that confidence sometimes wanes because of what we've spoken about in terms of reassessing who we are and our relationship to the world. So where do you start? What's the starting point to help somebody realign themselves to the world and get better at communicating what they want now?
It varies because every human is different. So this might be, that transition might be, you are self-employed or a business owner or an entrepreneur and you're selling all your businesses, and it might be, well, do you know what you want? And it's very often, it comes down to what do you want? So that might be that want. It might be someone is what's happening next and they are going for a massive promotion. And again, it's, well, what do you want from that?
Yeah.
It might be that a change has happened to you. And it's like, okay, well, what do you want your life to look like now? And the number one challenge with this, which is so strong a belief that I have, that I wrote a book about it, is that the challenge is lots of people don't feel into what they want, what they would love, what they would desire. They automatically, because of societal programming and expectations, start thinking about what they should.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I should do this. I should do, like, especially if you're having the liberty of selling your business, for example. And like you say, they've come to you, they've got their financial future sorted, and that's all good. And it's like, oh, well, I really should do something worthy, or to get to this next level in my career, I should do some non-exec direct. I should spend more time with animals, my family. I should go and see the world. It's like, no, there are no shoulds.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
And that is very often a block, as is the self-awareness piece of what are the things in my life that actually are the patterns that get in my way. Yeah. So they're the two key things.
I love the question that Bill Burnett asks in a book I always talk about, What Happens Next, and I'm writing about quite a lot, called Design Your Life. And it gives this model of the questions you might want to ask yourself when you're thinking about transitioning and making change in your life. And the question that he shares, which I absolutely love, is, first of all, he talks about, the plan being, what would, if everything went right, what would the plan be? So that's the king card. The Jack card is, if everything went wrong, what would be the least that you'd expect, which is an interesting question. The one I really like is the Joker card, because the question is, if you had all the money in the world to do what you want, but also you knew nobody would laugh, how would you spend your time? And it's, I love the addition of that question, because it removes that element of societal expectations where we turn around and go, well, we've got to do this because this is what society expects. Mm-hmm. If you knew nobody would laugh, how would you spend your time is a question I love. But you also brought in that element of self-awareness and spending time thinking about what we want to do with our time. But that takes a bit of introspection, right? So what's the step that we need to take to start becoming a little more self-aware so we can work out what we actually want?
Oh, gosh, how long have we got? So the key thing about self-awareness, I believe self-awareness is the key to life. It's definitely the tool that has helped me the most. So it's got me from my deep, dark space to where I am now, to actually implementing it. And where I am now, it doesn't mean I don't spiral down. I do. It's just I have the self-awareness about my patterns so that when something happens in life, and it's normally not just one thing, right? Like anything, it's normally, well, here's this straw and 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 this straw, and there's the one that breaks the camel's back. And it is that deep self-awareness that helps me go, okay, is this true? Is the first question.
Yeah.
Or is this my thoughts, feelings, or beliefs?
Yeah.
So that's the first, like, is this true? And the biggest thing about self-awareness, the deeper self-awareness we have, the more awareness we tend to have about other people as well. And the key is remembering, if I can share just one thing that would help, I suppose the question would be, or the statement would be, this is simply my perspective.
Yeah.
And remembering that we are looking through everything through the lens of our experience, and it's all subconscious stuff. And this goes into psychology, which I'm not a psychologist, but as a coach, it's, you're very often, I'm not a psychologist, you're not. But a lot of the way I work, because I work physiologically, and especially when I work with the voice vibration, your voice is a reflection of every experience or emotion you have ever had, witnessed, or imagined. Your voice is also a reflection of your thoughts and feelings about yourself, about the people you are with or the people involved, and the situation you are in.
Yeah.
Your voice is also a reflection of your thoughts and feelings about yourself in relation to the people you are with or the situation you are in. And that reflection is simply your perspective. It's your experience from the past that you're making true in every moment. And whether that is, again, we come back to the emotions, because your voice is a reflection of your emotions. So if you have had a past experience that was brilliant
Part of the issue we've got when we're thinking about what happens next in our lives is having the self-awareness, having the introspection to be able to think about what the gaps in our well-being are. And we're doing loads of work at the minute with what happens next to build solutions that are going to help you think about well-being in a nuanced way when you're thinking about how it applies to your life. One of the first things we've built that you can use today is our What Happens Next quiz. It's free to do, takes about 5 minutes, but what it will do is give you an insight into the areas of strength when it comes to your well-being and the areas you might want to improve. You can take the What Happens Next quiz at whathappensnext.life/quiz, and I hope it helps you in your journey to work out what happens next for you.
And it doesn't have to be the same situation, it can be a similar situation or a similar type of person. Then your communication about that, your emotions about that are going to be solid and secure. And you'll be like, yep, this is great. I can do this. You know what? I'm going to go off to Ecuador and plant trees to enhance the forest. And if your experience in the past is, yep, that's possible, you don't care if people are laughing at you. You don't care if the joker comes up because you know you're solid in it. If your past experience is, I went interrailing when I was 17 and I thought it was going to be an adventure, but actually on day 2, everything got stolen and my friend decided to go home and abandoned me. And then I couldn't find a hotel for a night and I was sleeping on the streets. When you're coming up to this point of transition, there's a part of you that might be thinking, I'd love to go to Ecuador and help create things. But your subconscious and your whole experience goes, oh no, but that's silly. And I don't know, it's dangerous. It's not the same experience. You're not the same person.
But here's the interesting thing. So let me share you one thing that happened when I was on my Ecuador trip, right? So we were on a boat from one Amazonian community to another. So we're on this boat. We were on a 2-hour boat journey, and about 1 hour, 50 minutes in, the boat just stops dead, right? And I hear the tour guide in Spanish sounding quite annoyed at the driver, and then in English just going, oh my God. And everybody on the boat, I mean, there's 12 of us on the boat, are going, what is going on here? And what had happened is we'd run out of fuel on the tributary of the Amazon River, as you do. And then what was interesting is, so we were fine. We got the backs of our benches and rowed to shore. And then there was a boat there and we got help and it was all good. But what's interesting is that story could be told in a million different ways. For me, that was an adventure. And I look at it and go, that's actually enhanced my experience of having that adventure because of that happened. Now, clearly, it all was all right in the end and we were all safe and it was all good. We didn't end up floating to Peru or anything.
Being eaten by piranhas or a caiman or an anaconda.
No, true. But here's the interesting thing. How much of the stories we tell ourselves are actually about our interpretation of those stories? And then I suppose the next follow-up question is, if I can tell a story like that, and then somebody who has the exact same experience just interprets it in a different way, but in a way that stops them potentially living the life they want, what can they do to potentially change their perspective?
And this is the self-awareness part. So it's what part of me is stopping me from even thinking about what I'd love.
Yeah.
I can't do what I'd love because I have to do my duty.
Yeah.
I can't pursue that because it's selfish. I can't. So the deep self-awareness is knowing which of your inner children is coming up for you. Yeah. I actually, you know what? I have a beautiful example from me. So at the moment, I am expanding my business. I am focusing on I've created a fabulous way of people working with me, which is a 3 or 5 day immersive. They come and live with me. We go away to Avebury and Glastonbury. We go deep into what is it they're wanting to create, usually for their business. And to do that, I'm having to do that dreaded word niche, right? So honing, creating ideal audience. And I have always had a resistance to this. And I was in a coaching session because I've invested in a big coaching thing for me this year. And it was a group coaching, and we'd had the whole day on mindset. And at the end of the day, it's like, so what are you taking away? And I wrote down, I need to let go of, I can't even remember what the first thing was now. I need to let go of whatever the first thing was. Oh, the fear of letting people down. And then from my hand came, and of people feeling left out, at which point I burst into tears. Because what was stopping me from what happens next, what was stopping me moving forward, expanding my business. So for anyone who, whatever it is, whatever that part in your life, I burst into tears because that just came out of my hand when I was writing. And the reason I've been avoiding niching, honing, is because I don't want people to feel left out.
Yeah, it's interesting.
The reason I don't want people to feel left out is because when I was bullied at school between the ages of 10 and 12, I was bullied by exclusion.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. So this subconscious, I've always resisted. I've always said I've got I've always had a psychological niche. So perpetual people pleasers or perfectionists, usually more introverted. I've happily gone into that space. But to actually hone down, I've been resistant, and had no idea why. And then here it is as an 11-year-old me going, I was excluded, so I don't want anyone to feel left out.
That's so interesting. Because this is something that I've thought about quite a lot in my own life, and my own business life. And at the start of my business journey, we used to say we help everybody. I had to say no to a couple of clients over the course of the last week, where they actually, for our fees that we need to charge to continue to grow and be profitable and help more people, it just wouldn't work for them. We just don't add enough value for that sort of client. And even now, knowing that that's the right thing to do, it's still difficult.
Yeah.
I want to help. That's my desire is to help. But actually, what that then does is stop me doing what I need to do over the medium to long term to help more people. Yes. So it's that challenge, Judith, you're not alone with, because it's something that, and when I look at it, and I'm a couple of years ago, I wrote a book on kindness. So I'm big on trying to help and support people. And sometimes those business decisions don't go against those values, but you've just got to try and be self-aware enough to work out why you're doing it. For the medium to long-term plan is actually, I want to help more people, but to do that, I need to be a bit kinder to myself to make sure that we're in a position to do that.
And for people moving forward, for the what happens next, even if it's not business, there will be something that is stopping you from going. If there's a part of you going, well, I'd love to do this, but it's that self-awareness of what part of me is it? Which younger self is stopping? And I have a whole exercise that I do with people where we work from the physiological to go, what is this barrier? What is this block? And it might be a should, it might be a younger self, it might be that you have never felt like it's okay to make choices for you. But whatever it is, having that self-awareness, learning what it is that is stopping you will be the thing that helps you move forward. So the way I phrase that normally is recognition creates release.
Talk to me a bit about that physiological element. So I've been reading a lot over the last year, 18 months about breath and the importance of breathing better. Tell me a bit about what else we can do in our physical state to help us break some of those barriers.
Never make choices from an emotional state, which, it's hackneyed and it's old. We hear it a lot, but it's true. And in order to change your state, breath is the number one tool. It's why breath is the center of all meditation. So slow breathing out through your mouth, breathing in through your nose. A magic trick for some people who feel they can't feel the expansion. When you breathe out, what tends to happen is we say breathe out, and what lots of people do is bring their tummy in. It's like breathing out. No, we say breathe in, and people do that. And so it's like, oh, breathe in, and people squeeze their tummy and boost their chest. And, it's like, that's what we need to do when we breathe out is contraction. Right. When we breathe in, everything needs to expand.
Okay.
So in order to help that expansion, a tool that I invite my clients to use is close your eyes and imagine your favorite smell. Because automatically then you relax. So when it comes to making choices, when it is this, oh, what happens next? Where am I going? If you're starting to get like, oh, about it, take time to breathe. Don't make the decision now. Ask yourself the questions. Is it urgent? Do I have to know now? And then being able to put yourself into a place of asking the right questions and slowing down your brain. So when our brain is in anxiety or is overworking, and again, this is why the emotional stability is the thing that impacts your mental health. Because when you're stable, there's no panic, there's no anxiety. You're not going, oh, okay, I need. So if the breath thing is the first step, another really great tool is you can just place your hand on your chest, close your eyes, breathe out, breathe in, and then just hum into your hand.
What does the humming do? Why the humming?
So especially low and slow, it stimulates the vagus. Here's the sciencey bit. It stimulates the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve, it controls our parasympathetic nervous system. And our parasympathetic nervous system is the system that helps us slow down. So the sympathetic, it's quite counterintuitive. And when I was doing my anatomy and physiology, when I was a massage therapist to support my acting career, and I found this quite challenging because you think the sympathetic nervous system, you would think is the one that, it's sympathetic, so it's nice. No, the sympathetic nervous system has sympathy with your thoughts. So if you're thinking, oh God, I've got to do this now, it goes, okay, action, adrenaline, fight, flight, freeze. So the parasympathetic nervous system is what helps us slow down. And the vibration of your hum, right? So this could be like, oh, it's the vibes, man. It's just the energetic vibration that we're in. But it's actually physiological. Your voice is vibration.
Yeah.
It's made by vibration. It's received by vibration. So the energy you are in is the energy you will speak with. And that has an impact on you and those around you. So doing the hum, brings you out of your head and into your body. So it means that you're coming out of this space back into your body, able to breathe. And at the same time, the vibration of the hum stimulates the vagus nerve, which wakes up the parasympathetic nervous system, which says, oh, okay, we need to slow down.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've had a couple of conversations with future guests on what happens next, because, as you know, I want to make sure that there's no alignment between what we talk about and what we and what we're doing. The interesting thing about those future guests who have sold businesses or exited out of quite intense roles in leadership in large organisations is they've all talked about detox, but not from alcohol, from the responsibilities that come with that previous life, and actually taking their time to navigate what happens next for them has been a really big thing. and that's been an element of experimentation, trying stuff they'd never tried before, but actually adapting to a phase in their life where they're not looking for an immediate solution. Because I think part of the challenge is when we're in our working lives, we're expected to come up with solutions fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And often, actually, we need to take a step back, particularly in this what happens next period of our lives. Take a step back, try some stuff that's probably in that people might laugh if they knew, to see if it fits, and then work forward. But here's the interesting thing. Sorry, let me have a quick drop of water.
That's okay. And just while I say, when you're using the vibration of your voice, this then goes into the sort of the vocal sound healing part of what I do, which is mental, physical, energetic, and emotional release. Is your voice will show you where you are holding unconscious blocks.
Okay.
So physiologically, when we're working on different tones and in different areas, if your voice kind of goes, no, I don't want to, or the sound, you might get really angry. Like the first time I experienced it was in drama school, and I didn't even know it was sound healing I was experiencing, but it was a voice class, and we were repeating a sound again and again, and I got so angry. And the teacher came over and said, it's okay, your voice just isn't used to going to this space because you don't like to show people how you feel. At which point I burst into tears, right? The anger was actually masking the pain. So your vibration can also help you recognize where you've got those unconscious blocks to release. So allowing yourself the time. So don't make the decisions in a rush. Allow yourself the time. Allow yourself the exploration, like you were just talking about, people going and exploring different ways of rediscovering who you are and who you want to be. It's not just about what you want to have. It's who you want to be. Yeah. What do you want to do? And how do you want to feel? And how do you want to make other people feel? But mostly, it's time to put you in the center of your world.
Yeah, love that. Absolutely love that. And I think one of the challenges that a lot of people approaching that what happens next moment in their lives face is the element of they're used to having a conventional working environment where that's the norm. And I loved when I was doing the research for this interview that on your LinkedIn you talk about challenging some of those conventional norms. What does that look like in reality when you're working with your clients?
Well, for the clients, so a lot of my clients tend to be people who challenge conventional norms. Their ideas are slightly out of the box. So, like, for example, I've got several female consultants in male-dominated worlds who are wanting to bring ideas in that are more people-centric in order to create profit, but putting people first rather than profit.
Yeah.
So it's that challenging the conventional norms. It's like, no, we need to look at the bottom line. It's like, let's look at the people. Let's do this.
Is that a challenge? I don't think there's a challenge of the conventional norm.
It's from my experience.
You know what I'm doing, Judith? I think I'm putting my story and my perspective. I think if you put people first, actually you win.
You do, but it's still not. That is still not the norm, particularly in big business. Like the couple of women who I've worked with, one that works, she's a consultant in finance and was also creating a holistic platform. Another works in managing change, and it's still very much results. Money is results. It's sad, but true.
I think part of that is some of these really important, but human-based conversations. There's not a definitive answer to, is there?
No.
And actually, certainly my experience of working with people is often if you can give some like currently I'm saying a lot of I don't know, right? So budget's coming up, clients are a little bit concerned about what's going to be going on from a tax perspective. And I reckon I've probably had 25 calls over the last 3 weeks, just saying to people, we're going to wait and see. Again, that sympathetic nerve is kicking in for a lot of clients, as they already know, and doing that sort of stuff. And we're saying we're going to wait and see. But
Tell them to hum in the meantime. Just keep hum until the budget comes.
All you need to do is hum until the budget, and then we'll let you know what you actually need to do. But I think sometimes we don't look at that because we're not comfortable sitting in uncertainty, right? And that element is then drives us towards this tangible element that may not give us all the answers we need. What do you think of that as a theory?
Oh, completely. In fact, the word tangible came up yesterday. I was having an interview with someone who is in completely the opposite space, in the light worker space, the holistic spiritual world. And she was asking me, because I would refer to, well, in the real world. And she said, what do you mean by real? I said, well, it's the more tangible. It's like when you say I'm an accountant, that's tangible. People know what it is. When I was working, and I did say to her, what's interesting, and this kind of comes also back to the challenging conventional norms, is this year I ran a workshop at the Bank of England on impact and influence. And what I love about that is there are plenty of speaking coaches or impact and influence trainers out there who aren't also holistic practitioners, who come from it from a very practical way. And yet they asked me to go in. I'm currently being a coach in a pharmaceutical company and some of my holistic spiritual side friends and colleagues are like, a farmer, no, farmers. There has to be a balance. And the fact that, again, that they've invited me, they know that, because I don't, and this is part of the challenge, is especially with your what happens next, I would say, what parts of you have you kept hidden in your professional life that actually would benefit your life going forward? Because when I used to hide the voice vibration, sound and chakra energy healing part of me, I didn't talk about it much, vocal sound healing, because it's not tangible. People don't know what it is. So it feels a little unreal. Oh God, she's like completely hippie woo nonsense, right? Not knowing that actually, well, no, I can also talk about stimulating the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system. Allowing yourself to embrace the whole of who you are for your next step, whatever your next step might be, because we waste so much energy hiding those parts of us that we think the Joker, right? We think other people are going to judge negatively. That when you allow yourself to embrace the whole of who you are, it's amazing what happens. Because when I started sharing and also speaking about and vocal sound healing, voice vibration, energy work, that's when I got more interest in what I do. That's when I started being so much less stressed.
But here's the interesting thing with that for me. That story that we tell ourselves about the fact that we can't have these conversations assumes that people aren't nuanced enough to go, I might not believe that. I might not believe about that part of the world, but I can recognise you, these skills, and there's enough alignment to say, actually, we can work together.
Yes.
Because I don't need to have and I'm never going to, have the map of the world that's entirely aligned by you. Does that mean that we can't have a really nuanced, intelligent conversation and add value to the people watching this today? No, we can definitely do that because there's enough in the middle. I mean, I always look for a values alignment. So I'll only work with people I think a good, a nice, a kind, are generous, want to help. That's my start to 10. But the interesting thing is you're never going to get perfect alignment because you're viewing the world through your eyes and everybody else has had that different experiences, right? It's so interesting.
And for people who are like, what happens next? I invite whoever you are, what happens next is I invite you to be the whole of who you are and allow yourself to be the whole of who you are. It doesn't mean you have to share that all the time. Did I go into the Bank of England in my floaty, wafty goddess dress with sage and crystals? No, I didn't, because that's, they wanted me there for impact and influence and communication with more confidence, how to have more impact and influence in communication, more assertiveness.
So
that's what I lead with, but I wasn't spending energy hiding the rest of me. And here's an analogy I use. Right, here's a crystal, because I always have one to hand. And this crystal is, it's multifaceted.
Yeah.
And you might just see that and go, well, that's ugly. Or you might just see that and think, oh, well, it's just a narrow, there's not much to it. We are all always the whole crystal.
Yeah, gotcha.
We might just, but it might be that at work we're going to show this bit, but it doesn't stop us from being the whole of it. And sometimes we might refer to this part, even though we're mostly this.
Yeah.
So it's allowing. My biggest thing is we all judge other people. We all judge ourselves. We judge positively and we judge negatively. And when I was a massage therapist and when I was starting doing the vocal sound healing, I'd write about it in my newsletter. And one of my massage clients, American guy, worked as a, what does he do? It's a consultant in banking on compliance and something, big banking compliance, So he was like, oh, so what's this sound healing thing you're talking about in the newsletters? And I'm like, oh God, consultant banking, nice house, etc. I'm like, well, it's using different sounds because different parts of our body hold different emotions and energies, and the sound helps release it. So there's a different sound for each of the energy centers. And he just went, oh, you mean the chakra system? Oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. I was like, how do you know the chakra? He's like, oh no, I've got a Buddha and an altar downstairs. And I'm like, boom.
Yeah.
He's a consultant in banking. We are all multifaceted, and our judgments that we put on others. And this is the human thing. And we come back to the emotional thing of when we're hiding stuff. And I'm not saying you go, oh, actually, yeah, this is, I go naked swimming every morning. Like that might not be appropriate to share with some people. But allowing yourself to not hide it. So for when what happens next comes, I would say the most important thing is to feel into allowing yourself to ask, what would I do? Who would I be? What would I have? What would I want to create if I allowed those parts of me that I've been hiding to come to the fore? What would I choose for what's next if I allowed myself to embrace the whole of who I am? Because you can be both a crystal having, barefoot on the earth, grounding, Formula One loving, meat eating hippie chick. Really practical and a little bit sweary too.
All good things, and you didn't talk about the heavy metal either, Judith.
No. Well, only four AC/DC videos, and.
Well, I mean, funny enough, I'm not a heavy metal fan, but one of my team is, and we ended up having a half-hour conversation on whether Iron Maiden are the best band ever yesterday, and I will share that with you after.
Not the best band ever, but. Oh God, yes. I used to go to sleep to Iron Maiden on a regular basis.
But I love that. What do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you want to have?
How do you want to feel?
How do you want to feel? But the reality, and this is the interesting thing for me, is all of that, none of us are islands. We all exist in this environment where we're reliant often on communicating with other people to achieve that goal. And we may have done that in our lives before what happens next, but we may have been making change and thinking, well, I'm in this new world now. So that influence and impact, particularly when you're sort of reassessing who you are and thinking about identity quite a lot. Tell me your top tips for making sure that people have more influence and impact, particularly when they communicate verbally?
Being connected, come back to qualities and values, knowing what it is you are wanting to create. And that might be your life. It might simply be what you want to create as a result of the conversation. So one of the key tools, and I actually doing some one-on-one coaching for this pharmaceutical company for their global general managers. And again, that was an identity thing, right? What identity makes you feel, because there's still a little part of me that goes, really? Yeah. Really? Judith? Like helping global general managers in a pharmaceutical company communicate with more clarity and compassion. Oh, okay. It's like, yes, because actually I'm an expert in this stuff. So what is the label? What are the labels you're wearing that you need to get rid of? What are the labels that you need to embrace? And having clarity on two key elements. So clarity of thought will create clarity of words. So that clarity on what it is you want, like the results that you want to create as a result of the conversation, and clarity of intention.
Yeah.
So the intention being like the human intention. How do you want those people to feel? What do you want them to go away with? Like, what do you want them to go away thinking? What do you want them to go away feeling? What do you want them to go away knowing? What do you want them to go away doing? Like, is there an action?
Let's take a super practical example of that.
Yeah.
What do you want people to come away from this interview thinking, feeling, knowing, and doing next?
I want them to think more deeply about what they want. So to ask yourself, am I shoulding my next steps, or do I desire this? Am I doing this out of duty or desire? That would be the key. That would, if there were one thing, when it comes to what happens next, am I shoulding it?
Yeah.
Or do I want it?
Am I doing what I believe I want to do, what I want to do, or what I believe everybody else thinks I should do?
Yeah. So that's the thinking part. What I would love them to feel is that there are possibilities. And action, if what I've been saying resonates with you, go give me a Google, Judith Quin with one N. Like, there's about 3 pages of Google. There are free online courses that you can take. You can buy my book, Stop Shoulding, Start Wanting. And there are practical exercises in there that you can do to go, okay, boom, boom, boom. I think there's a wait on Amazon. So I do have some hard copies if people are going, oh, yes, but it's on Kindle. Amazon is saying there's a wait of 3 months or something. I don't know why that is at the moment. That's tech stuff. That's not my zone. But yeah, go. And if I'm not the right person for you, if you know that you need someone to help you figure out what is it I want, then go and find the right, I would suggest, coach for you. Or if you know that you are in stress or anxiety or anything of that you need to detox from, go and find the right practitioner for you.
Yeah, 100%. I love stories. I think stories are probably one of the most powerful ways to communicate the point.
Yeah.
So what I'm really curious about is the story that personifies the work you do, particularly with people who are thinking about what happens next.
That would probably be the beautiful Alyssa, who came over to work with me from America. And actually, she's who I created my immersive for. And she was at a massive transition point in her career. She's a legal advocate. She had been a journalist. She was an advocate. She's also a psychic medium. And she was really fed up with the system that she was working in, particularly focusing on mental health. Her nephew had taken his life, and she had a relationship breakup. So she was at several points of what happens next.
Yeah.
And we did I created the 3-day immersive for her because she was coming over from America. So it's like it had to be something that was deep and worthwhile for her time. And in our exploration, there was so much that came up that wasn't expected. She came with the intention of career steps and relationship. What am I doing? In the relationship stuff, we came down with it, bedded down into younger self stuff around actually parental relationship. And when her sister was born, she felt she was ignored. And so suddenly she had to work harder. And there's stuff that was in there that she just didn't know. With the accepting the wholeness of her, right? So no, I'm an advocate. I'm a legal advocate. That's all. I can't show anyone any of this. I can't talk about it. I can't even have a separate website under a different name. And that was then, well, what if I allowed myself to start talking about intuition? What if I allowed, especially if I chose to advocate more for mental health? What if and suddenly she started becoming more integrated with herself.
Yeah.
Within 6 months of our 3-day immersive, and which we have ongoing support that comes with that. So I don't just like, come with me for 3 days and then you're left alone. It's like, no. She went home. She properly finished the relationship because she'd realized how toxic it was. She left the job and sold her house and moved from Florida back to Tennessee, which is where she's from originally, to live the life that she loved, that was more in line with her values and what she wanted to create. And she met within the next 6 months, she got the perfect job that she wanted, because we did a thing where we look at qualities and values and what you bring, and specifically, okay, well, where do you want to work? So she's like, I want to be advocating in mental health and I want to create this. So she created the perfect job that she had wanted because she was in alignment with her. That was 3 days a week. That was advocating for mental health, which left her 2 working days a week to work on her intuitive mediumship business and made connections in the local area with other people for that part of her life. And then within the year had also met her partner, who she's now been with for 5 years.
I love that.
It's a healthy relationship. And yeah, that's how powerful, when you step into this deep self-awareness and having to look in that mirror at the stuff you maybe don't want to look at, but having that recognition, which creates the release. And when we have release, nature abhors a vacuum, right? So your new stuff can't come in while you're holding on to the old stuff.
Sure.
So when we recognize and release the old stuff, there's space for the new, and you're in alignment with your qualities, your values, and what you would love to create.
And that's part of the challenge, isn't it? I suppose the element is, even though people, my experience with working with clients who are in this situation is, it's easier, more comfortable to hold on to those old stories than it is to turn around and go, even if those old stories aren't serving you and are actually annoying and painful and aren't the life that you want to live, because it's what we know. It gives us a degree of certainty. And just transitioning over to that life that you love can be scary at times, and that's why the work you do is so valuable. So thank you. Where can people find out a bit more about the work you do?
At Your Whole Voice is my website, so yourwholevoice.com. And if you look under the immersives, there's also something that, like you said, sometimes it can take time. It's scary. So it's looking at what's right. There are links on there in the resources to the free online courses and stuff, or a connection call with me if you've gone, actually, yes, I'm loving your vibe, Judith. You've got that mix of practical, energetic, spiritual, or even if you don't get the spiritual stuff, you're like, but I like the way you talk about it. Then just book a connection call with me and see what's right. And because sometimes these transitions do take time, I have also recently, I've had it there for years, but I never talk about it. So today I'm going to actually say, I
want to see the full crystal.
I do also have a 1-year program where people can work with me, and they start with a 2-day intensive, and then there's a year of support, including quarterly 1-day intensives where we check in and go, what's going on? But you have that ongoing support from me for that year of transition.
Yeah, and that's important. These stuff, when we're thinking about what we're going to do with what happens next moving forward, we know already that won't be a one and done, because actually this transition, in our experience, takes time. So assuming that you're going to come on a podcast, to watch a podcast, listen to a webinar, and think it's all going to be good, you probably need that ongoing support from a community like we're building at What Happens Next, or from somebody like Judith to help you, not only in the short term, but the medium and long term. So here's the question that I want to finish on. If Iron Maiden aren't the best band in the world, who is?
It's all relative, but
who's your favourite?
Well, one is not heavy metal, but if in the rock world, it would be AC/DC.
Okay, good choice.
Yeah.
And how about in the non-rock world? What's your favourite?
Well, I'm going to confess, I'm a Bon Jovi fan.
So a bit of soft rock as well. That's about that's showing that element of the crystal that I didn't expect to see.
And I have seen Neil Diamond 4 times live.
Oh, you know what? Who doesn't love Neil Diamond? Let's be honest. And on that note, jump on your Spotify, listen to a bit of Neil Diamond. Thank you for joining us for this interview, Judith. I've absolutely loved it. Thank you for sharing all of the elements of your crystal with us, and having a really in-depth, nuanced and fascinating conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, the interview you're listening to today is also available to watch on our YouTube channel. If you'd like more content, exclusive content that's not available on the podcast, you can visit at What Happens Next Life. And whilst you're there, I want to ask you a favour. We want to help as many people as possible navigate, if they're in their 50s and 60s, what's going to happen next in their lives. The easiest and freest way you can do it is subscribe to our YouTube channel. So today, I'd love for you to do that. Thank you. So that was our interview with Judith. Please feel free to let us know in the comments what you thought. Have a lovely day, and we'll see you on What Happens Next soon.